My name is Samuel, and I've always considered myself a rational person. I scoffed at tales of the supernatural, dismissing them as mere products of overactive imaginations. That was until I encountered the long horse. It all began one fateful evening as I was driving through the countryside, the winding roads flanked by endless fields. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch on forever. As I rounded a bend, I saw it, a figure in the distance, looming on the edge of the road. At first, I dismissed it as a trick of the fading light, a play of shadows and perspective. But as I drew closer, the figure took shape, revealing itself to be something beyond ordinary. The long horse, as I would come to know it, stood tall and skeletal, its impossibly long neck extending upwards, its head crowned with a wild tangle of black hair. Its eyes, two hollow orbs, seemed to bore into my soul, holding me captive with a gaze that was both haunting and sorrowful. I brought my car to a stop, my heart pounding in my chest. The air grew thick with a palpable sense of dread, as if the world itself held its breath in the presence of this unearthly entity. The long horse stood perfectly still, its elongated form casting a grotesque silhouette against the dying light. It exuded an aura of ancient malevolence, a force that was both primeval and ageless, as I watched. Transfixed, the long horse let out a sound, a mournful, guttural wail that seemed to reverberate through the very fabric of reality. It was a sound that spoke of eons of suffering, of an existence that defied mortal understanding. In that moment, I knew that I stood on the threshold of something beyond my comprehension. The rational world I had known crumbled in the face of this eldritch apparition, replaced by a reality that was both terrifying and enthralling. As abruptly as it had appeared, the long horse turned and retreated into the fields, its impossibly long limbs carrying it with an eerie, fluid grace. It disappeared into the gathering darkness, leaving me alone on the deserted road. Shaken to my core, I sat in my car for what felt like an eternity, grappling with the reality of what I had just witnessed. The encounter with the long horse had shattered my beliefs, opening my eyes to the existence of forces beyond human understanding. From that moment on, I knew that my life had been irrevocably changed. The long horse was real, a harbinger of a world that lurked just beyond the edges of our perception. And I was determined to unravel the mysteries it held. In the days that followed my encounter with the long horse, I became consumed by a singular obsession, to uncover the truth behind this enigmatic entity. I delved into ancient texts, obscure folklore, and whispered legends, searching for any mention of this spectral apparition. The more I learned, the more I realized that the long horse was not a solitary entity. It was a harbinger, a figure that had appeared throughout history, leaving a trail of cryptic tales in its wake. It was a being that defied explanation, a creature that straddled the boundary between the tangible and the ethereal. I heard accounts of farmers who claimed to have glimpsed the long horse in the dead of night, its elongated form moving silently through the fields. Others spoke of encounters on desolate roads, where the apparition would materialize, a silent sentinel of the unknown. Each account carried with it a common thread, a sense of dread, an overwhelming feeling of unease in the presence of the long horse. It was as if this entity emanated an energy that stirred primal instincts, a force that transcended the boundaries of mortal understanding. Driven by a mixture of fascination and trepidation, I embarked on a journey to the rural heartlands, seeking out those who had witnessed the long horse firsthand. Their stories were as varied as they were chilling, painting a portrait of a being that was both elusive and omnipresent. One account stood out among the rest. An elderly farmer, his eyes filled with a haunted wisdom, spoke of an encounter with the long horse that had haunted him for decades. He described how the entity had appeared on the outskirts of his farm, its mournful wail echoing through the night. As I listened to his tale, I realized that the long horse was more than a mere apparition. It was a symbol, a manifestation of the primordial fears that lurked within the human psyche. It embodied the unknown, the unknowable, and the inexorable march of time. Armed with newfound knowledge, I returned to the site of my initial encounter, determined to uncover any clues that might shed light on the origins of the long horse. I combed through the fields, seeking signs, searching for a connection to this ancient enigma. As the days turned to weeks, my obsession deepened. I could feel the long horse's presence in the very air I breathed, a spectral specter that lingered at the edge of my senses. It was a force that called to me, urging me to delve deeper into its mysteries, and so, my quest continued, a relentless pursuit of truth in the face of the inexplicable. The legend of the long horse had become my reality, a testament to the boundless depths of the supernatural. As my quest to unravel the mysteries of the long horse pressed on, I found myself drawn deeper into a world that existed on the fringes of human understanding. The lines between reality and the supernatural blurred, as if the long horse itself beckoned me to uncover its secrets. I ventured into forgotten archives, poring over ancient texts and obscure manuscripts in search of any mention of this spectral being. It was there, hidden within the pages of forgotten lore, that I stumbled upon a revelation that would forever alter the course of my journey. The long horse, it seemed, was more than a mere apparition. It was a guardian, a sentinel that stood at the threshold between the known and the unknowable. In ages past, it had been revered by ancient civilizations, a symbol of wisdom and the eternal cycle of life and death. The tales spoke of a ritual, a communion with the long horse that was said to grant insight into the deepest mysteries of existence. It was a rite that had been performed by those who sought to transcend mortal limitations, to glimpse the veiled truths that lay beyond the confines of human perception. Armed with this newfound knowledge, I set out to retrace the steps of those who had come before me. The path led me to a desolate moor, a place where the boundaries between the mortal realm and the supernatural grew thin. Under the light of a waning moon, I began the ritual. Each gesture and incantation performed with a reverence that bordered on the sacred. The air seemed to hum with a palpable energy, as if the very fabric of reality responded to the invocation. And then, it happened. The air grew still, and a presence descended upon the moor. The long horse materialized before me, its form bathed in an otherworldly glow. Its eyes, those hollow orbs, seemed to pierce through the veil of my soul, holding me in a gaze that transcended time itself. In that moment, I understood. The long horse was a conduit, a bridge between worlds, a keeper of the ancient wisdom that lay buried within the annals of time. Its presence was a testament to the enduring mysteries that shaped the course of human existence. As the ritual concluded, the long horse began to fade, its form becoming ethereal, until it was but a wisp in the night. I stood on the moor, my heart pounding with a mixture of awe and reverence. I had glimpsed the heart of the supernatural, touched the very essence of the enigma that was the long horse. As I made my way back, I knew that my journey was far from over. The legend of the long horse would forever be etched into my being, a testament to the boundless depths of the supernatural.